Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening for those of you over on the East Coast. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Worst Sports Podcast out there. This is Raven Slayer's Hour. I appreciate y'all for still sticking around and finding some joy in this series. I haven't been really on it that much because I just got some personal stuff going on in life. But I thought, you know what? Why not go through and do something fun? Um, and grade through the 2020 NFL draft. Um, with the first round of the NFL draft, and of course, go through and talk about some of the undrafted guys, and just see how things kind of boiled down. As a lot of people in the sports in the sports realm know that when it comes to players, not just in the NFL but the NBA, in all the sports that have those drafts where you draft the player, you after 5 years you've kind of gotten a gauge for how their career has boiled down so far, and figure out if they were a successful first round pick, a somewhat mediocre, run of the mill, first round draft pick, or if they were an absolute horrible first pick to have, first pick of the draft, first few picks of the draft. So that's what the subject matter of today is. Again, we're not just talking about the first round. We're talking about notable second and third day picks, and as well some of the undrafted guys that kind of came out of nowhere. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. I am luckily not alone today. Old man, how are you? There we go. Now I'm unmuted. How are you, old man? Cannot hear you. Yeah, I'm still not hearing you at all. I don't know if it's just your mic for your, I don't think it's, hopefully it's just not the settings on your Discord or what have you. So, well, while he's working through those technical difficulties, I kind of gave him a, nope. So while he's working through those technical difficulties, he can hear me, but unfortunately can't hear him quite yet. As I kind of let them know what we're doing here. What we're doing here is, of course, talking about the wonderful, wonderful 2020 NFL Draft, going through grading through the first round, talking about the notable second and third day picks, and of course, talking about the undrafted guys too. Not hearing you. Nope. You're going to your Discord settings. So where you see the mic down there, the little the drop down, hit that and check your output device. And nope, 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 nope. Nope. Ah, yeah, it's a bummer. Um, well, you used your laptop last time. Did you want to try that? No, I can't. No, still. Wait, hold on. It says that you're muted. Hold on, Dad. It says that you're muted on Discord itself, like the head, the. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody. Give me one sec here. You just gotta love technical difficulties when you go when you're off for when you get off here for a little while. Hold on, talk now.
How about now?
There we go. Now we can hear you.
Oh, you had me muted.
No, I did not have you muted. That was on you, sir.
No, pretty sure it was you.
All right. Well, whatever, what have you. Either way, we can hear you now. So that's the only thing we care about. Yep, and we got everything all good to go. So, finally got technical difficulties worked out. I appreciate everybody for sticking around, not leaving us quite yet. So, again, talked to them about it. 2020 NFL Draft first round. We're going to be grading through that pick by pick. Figure out what their grades we gave them. I gave some of them really good ones, some of them really bad. Not sure about you, but some lived up to the hype. Not a whole lot did, though.
Yeah. So for me, a couple of notes I think really that stood out from this draft, and we'll talk about it one at a time. There was a lot of deep quarterback talent in this draft. Um, a lot of it went right at the top. A couple of them a little bit later. This draft class, at least for me, went a long way toward continuing the trend that is the NFL offense these days. The wide receiver depth in this draft, incredible. And then just the amount of defensive and offensive line talent that was drafted in this first round. And we almost went a whole first round without a running back, which is hard to believe. So that's the stuff that stood out for me. We'll talk individual picks as we go. I know you're dying to get to this first one, so I'll let you lead it off.
Well, I know the first one goes without saying. Of course, Cincinnati Bengals taking Joe Burrow first and foremost off the board. Quarterback was needed. Quarterback was the number one thing that they needed, and Joe Burrow was the guy who fit the scheme very well. Thus far into his career, 68.6% completion percentage, 140 touchdowns to 46 interceptions, 19,001 yard, with a QBR of 101.2, 2 comeback player of the year, 2 Pro Bowls. I feel he is the greatest success the Bengals have had ever since a young man named Andy Dalton.
So I totally agree. When it comes to need, they definitely drafted for need. If you're drafting number one in the NFL these days, or almost any day, it's almost always going to be quarterback. And they went with the consensus number one. This was a no-brainer. His stats speak for themselves. But what I find interesting, and I notice you were very careful to shy away from, the one knock on him is going to be his ability to stay healthy and play in games. Joe Burrow has done a really remarkable job of leading his team through the regular season. Joe Burrow does tend to win big games in the regular season, but there's one thing missing from that impressive resume. What is it?
Super Bowl victory.
Super Bowl victory. Now, part of this is he plays in the AFC, and the AFC is just dripping with quarterback talent. It is insane that Joe Burrow, year after year, could not even make the Pro Bowl because of that amazing talent. Now, that said, outside of a Super Bowl, there's not much more you can ask for out of a quarterback who's the number one overall draft pick. I'm not going to give him an A+ because we're still missing that Super Bowl victory, but I will definitely give him an A.
Okay. So that brings us to, and of course, got to talk about it with Burrow. I definitely agree the whole concern about the the Super Bowl victory. I don't really knock him 100% on that. The one guy I 100% blame for that, really 5, 6 guys at most. The offensive line in that Super Bowl, and of course, Samaje Perine not diving for that ball on that 4th down play. But it's neither here nor there. Super Bowl's done and over with. Just has so much more to do. Luckily, has that team. I feel that this is a team that they needed to be able to get there. But the number one thing you also have to be concerned about is their current situation with their their young player that they just drafted this year not signing. Sign the freaking contract. Anyway, neither here nor
Stop putting
there.
clauses in there that don't belong.
All right. So either way, we'll get on to the second draft choice, the Washington Reskins, the Washington Redskins. Go back to the Redskins
Washington
names.
Comskins. Let's just call them the Comskins. I think that's a lot of fun.
So the Washington
So-
now Commies took Chase Young, number 2.
So Chase Young, again, no brainer at the time. They definitely needed help on defense. I think any other quarterback at this point would have been a reach for them. Their number one need was defensive end. They needed a pass rusher. And Chase Young was pretty much the most physically gifted player in the draft. And the one thing we learned very quickly is physically gifted in college doesn't always translate to the NFL game. He's done a decent job. But I don't think he's lived up to the billing. And part of that might be just the way they've used him to this point. Part of that might just be his fit in that scheme. They looked much better last year. I think having Ron Rivera there probably helps. But I don't. This is his option year. They picked up the option. We'll find out whether or not he earns his next contract this year. If not, look for him to be a free agent and to sign on somewhere, specifically as a pass rusher. The guy cannot play the run well, not as well as we all thought he could. I think he's not going to go down as a bust, but for me, this at best turned out to be a B.
Well, to kind of help out, because kind of help you out a little bit here with the whole Chase Young situation. Had 131 tackles, 22 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, 12 touchdowns. Great all-around player. Got the rookie of the year. Has 1 Pro Bowl under his knock. But don't remember in 23 he got traded to the Niners halfway through the season.
Oh, Niners, sorry.
And then after that, in 24, went to the Saints. So he's still currently with the Saints right now. Honestly, with what he did in Washington, really didn't do a whole lot for them. So really, I don't really give him a whole lot of praise for what he's done thus far. He's a great player. He just a lot of talent that he had in college hasn't translated like he had mentioned. So I don't know. I'm just calling him run of the mill, middle of the bar. Hopefully he'll turn it around with the Saints, but he's middle of the rung for me right now.
Yep. No, I agree, and I forgot that he did get traded. You're absolutely right, and the fact that he's now been with 3 teams in his first 4 years, and this is year 5, or first 5 years, 3 teams in 5 years. I think it speaks volumes about the fact that he is just not the impact player that they would have liked to have had. I still stand by my grade of a B. I think it's going to come down to finding the perfect scheme for him to maximize his talents and hide his flaws. So,
well, hopefully it'll be the answer with the Saints. If it's not with the Saints, you got to question what system really works out for him better in the NFL. But so that'll bring us over to the other great team in the NFC. The now great team in the NFC, the Detroit Lions, taking Jeff Okudah at number 3.
So, one moment. You should never go swimming with your daughter right before a show and not get time to eat before you come on a show. But hey, I'm good to go now. Jeff Okudah, I think, was universally considered to be the number 1 cornerback prospect in that draft. He had shutdown type talent. Everybody thought that this guy was going to be an absolute stud. In terms of how well he plays the game, there's talent there. It's hiding somewhere underneath the surface. But what's marred him up to this point is injuries. And he was with Detroit the first 3 years. 2022 was kind of the best season that he saw up to that point. 15 games played, 73 tackles, one interception, one forced fumble. Um, One of the big things when you're talking about a cornerback is are they willing to throw the football at him? And Okudah never really became a shutdown. Now, he went on to Atlanta in 2023, on to Houston in 2024. Again, missed games again in 2024, only played 6 games with a total of 9 tackles. So at this point, at best, he's going to be a backup. He did sign on with Minnesota. I will say I am interested to see what Brian Flores can get out of him. Brian Flores is one of the best defensive coordinators the game has today. So very, very interested to see what he can get out of him. Um, I like with the talent that went behind Jeff Okudah, like this is an F, as close to an F as you can get. To be the top player at any position and to end up the way he is right now, complete failure.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, the stats definitely don't, do him justice. Of course, with the amount of injuries that he has had, he did not live up to the hype that a lot of Detroit Lion fans had. They were touting Okudah to be the next up and coming, Dick Lane. That he was going to be the guy that brought Detroit back into relevance, but he just did not live up to that hype. So I 100% agree. Grades out really low for me. Definitely is a bust. I mean, if he can go and get healthy and stay healthy for a couple of seasons, maybe that'll that grade will change. But I mean, really, I have I can't give him more than an F right now. Too, give him a bust.
Yep.
Label him a bust for right now. So,
in 5 years into the league, at this point, your career is pretty much defined. If Brian Flores can't get something out of him, I expect Jeff Okudah to be out of the league this year. So
definitely.
We will see.
That'll bring us into pick number 4 with the Giants with Andrew Thomas.
I saw an article on Andrew Thomas. First of all, definitely the best offensive lineman that was considered going into the draft. The first 4 picks really were not big surprises up and down the board. Like there were no shocks here. They drafted Andrew Thomas to give Daniel Jones an offensive line to protect him. It was widely believed that was one of the things they were missing there, that Daniel Jones was going to be the guy. So for them to go quarterback or any other position at this point, it just didn't make sense. Andrew Thomas, outside of injuries, he's had some injury issues. Outside of injuries, I really feel like this was a great pick. And in terms of talent, he hasn't made a Pro Bowl yet, but he is one of the guys that potentially could. He's got incredible talent. He's very, very solid on the offensive line when he can play. Last year, suffering the foot injury, the what do they call it, Lisfranc injury. If you're an offensive lineman and you're having foot issues, that can be a concern. If he can come back healthy this year and he can continue to solidify what is a very good offensive line for the Giants, or could be, that's going to be key for their season. So curious to see at this point. I would probably give him a B minus at worst. That's where I'm at.
I mean, with all the injuries considered, I mean, 61 games played thus far throughout his career, 60 starts. I got 100% agree. I mean, B minus to C plus for me. I mean, with the injuries he's had, it really has given him a huge knock. In with my grading on this overall. If he can stay healthy, then definitely see some upgrades as far as his grade. But I mean, With offensive linemen, you really don't have a huge gauge to give them, other than you can't really gauge their career without seeing if they have any Pro Bowls and seeing them fully
Yep.
healthy. So for
Yep.
right now, I mean, B- to C for me. But again, if he can stay healthy, he definitely can turn that grade around. So.
Yep.
So that brings us into Miami at pick number 5 with Tua Tagovailoa.
I'm gonna let you lead off here because I got a few comments on this.
All right. So Tua Tagovailoa, 68.1% completion percentage thus far throughout his career. 100 touchdowns to 44 interceptions, 15,506 yards, 97.9 passer rating with 1 Pro Bowl under his belt thus far. Far too many times. A lot of people have said it. I've heard it from different YouTube channels that have talked about the 2020 NFL draft thus far with Urinating Tree. Far too many times Tua can be that great player that Miami needs. He could be the next Dan Marino, but far too many times Tua Tagovailoa shows up far too much. If he can go and tweak his game and stop throwing as many interceptions throughout a season as he does, then maybe Miami found their diamond in the rough when it comes to quarterbacks.
So for me, this was where the draft really started in 2020 because the top 4 picks were pretty much conceded that they were going to be what they were going to be. And then when we got to this 5th pick, there were so many different ways that Miami could have gone. We knew they wanted a quarterback. Well, there were quarterbacks to choose from, and it really came down to who did they like best. Tua coming out of college, a lot of hype. Now, anytime you're coming from a great program like he was, sometimes that can be a little bit too inflated. But one thing that we did not count on with Tua was the number of times that this poor guy is going to wonder who he is. 5 concussions, I believe, up to this point, maybe 6 or 7 if they hit him better. I don't know. Um, his style of play is a little bit reckless, but his style of play also is what led them to the playoffs in 2023. Uh, the only season to date that Tua played all 17 games had a 69% completion rate, had 4,600 passing yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Yes, he's going to turn the ball over some. Not all of those are his fault, but a lot of them are. He's throwing into tight spaces because he believes he can. But what stands out is that this guy is one more big hit from being out of the league. They took a gamble on upside. He's not a bad quarterback when he can stay on the field. Last year, only 11 games played. 2,800 yards passing, 19 touchdowns. He did drop the interception ratio, increased his completion percentage, and that's the one thing that I will say is you're seeing his completion percentage go up every year. A lot of that is the head coach and the style of play and the style of offense that he runs. I think he protects him a little bit, which is great. When you see that you have a flawed position, you hide it a little bit. And I think that's what they did with Tua just a little bit last year. Um, Definitely has not gotten them to the promised land, hasn't gotten them close. Part of that is the division he plays in being one of the toughest in all of football. I mean, it's terrible when you go from having Tom Brady own your division to having Josh Allen own your division for year after year after year. Um, I don't think Tua's ever going to be a guy who's going to put Miami over the top, but I also don't think he's a guy they're going to look to replace until they have to. For me, the talent is there, the consistency is not. I would give this a C plus.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, more than anything, I mean, with the injuries he's had, I do agree. He'll be one good hit away from being out of the league permanently. I definitely hope the best for his career to avoid that that big hit, so he doesn't get out of the league in general. It'd be a terrible thing to see someone lose their career over an injury, but I agree. I mean, Tua's just that one big hit away. If He's far too reckless in my view. I mean, C plus at best. Honestly, I really can't grade him any higher, but C plus at best for him. So that brings us into pick number 6, the guy that the Dolphins should have picked with the LA Chargers, Justin Sherbert.
Sherbert, Sherbert ice cream. So for me, I'm with you. I really thought Justin Herbert should have been the pick at 5. LA gets him at 6, and what he's done to this point in his career, considering the division he plays in, the AFC West, I don't know what more you could ask. He's consistently there. He's only missed a total of 6 games his first 5 years, and 2 of those were his first year when he wasn't the starter right out the gate. And now you've got Jim Harbaugh there in San Diego.
LA.
I really think it's only going to get better for him. Last year, 17 games played, 504 attempts, 66% completions, which, by the way, tied his career, well, just shy of his career high. 3,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. This guy is cerebral when it comes to the game of football. He's incredibly smart. He knows where to go with the ball. He's in an offense that's going to protect him from making big mistakes. Those interception numbers have dropped every year. But what we saw in the playoffs is that if you can't protect this guy, he can't win the games for you. There's probably not more hype around any one quarterback this coming season, with all of the predictions that this is the year that the Chargers knock off the Chiefs in that division, that this is the year that Justin Herbert makes the big leap. The pressure's on. I love what he can do with a football. I'm sad that he's on a team that I don't think is going to get there. In terms of what he's done to this point, my grade for him is a B plus.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so far throughout his career, 66.5 completion percentage, 137 touchdowns to just 45 interceptions. Most amount of yards so far as quarterbacks that I've seen, for the first 5 years. I mean, 21,000 yards thrown, 21,000 yards, 96.7 QBR. He won the Offensive Rookie of the Year, which if Joe Burrow had stayed healthy, I'm pretty sure he'd give him a run for his money. With that one Pro Bowl under his belt right now, I have to agree as well with Harbaugh now out there running the systems. Definitely is going to give Justin Herbert a little bit more confidence to be in the system he is. So definitely, I think that Herbert, he's going to have a huge year this upcoming year with all the changes that the Chargers have done. But thus far, B plus to A minus for him, for my grade with him. That brings us into Carolina with Derek Brown.
Yeah, let's talk defense for a minute. It's hard in today's NFL to spend picks early in the draft unless you're sure of what you're getting in the way of talent. And Derek Brown was probably the second highest rated defensive end in this draft. He has done nothing but perform to the level that everyone expected he would. And you've seen the growth year after year. With the exception of 2024, he was out for the year with a knee injury. Only got to play in one game and not even a full game. Truly heartbreaking because he was coming off a Pro Bowl year with the Panthers. 2023, 103 tackles. Only a couple of sacks, but that's, I think, a product of the system as much as anything else. The guy can play. And I really feel like Derek Brown was coming into his own before the injury last year. And I think if he can come back from the injury last year, we're looking at a perennial Pro Bowler there in Carolina. I have my fingers crossed for him. I love success stories, and I love when things play out well for a guy. I hope he's able to come back this year fully healthy and just repeat on 2023 success. in terms of what you look for from a first round draft pick who's not in those top five, the guy has done everything right. Year over year growth, year over year increased production. I'll give this an A minus.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, Derek Brown thus far, minus the injury prior, from last year, definitely has lived up to the hype at that number 7 overall, 7 overall pick. Um, the injury last year definitely was a downside to see from him. With the growth he's had year over year, thus far through his career, 248 tackles, 8 sacks, 21 pass. As a defensive end, 21 what is that? 21 pass deflections. 21 pass
Yep.
deflections, 2 interceptions as a defensive end, by the way. Already has a Pro Bowl
Passes
under his
defense, by the way.
pardon?
Passes defense.
Oh, passes defense. Thank you. 2 interceptions thus far through his career with that Pro Bowl
Yep.
under his belt. Definitely was a highly successful player. And I know if he stays healthy this next year, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with on that Carolina Panthers defensive line. Of course, that's funny to say, Carolina Panthers and a force to be reckoned with in the same sentence, especially after the last 2 years. But, neither here nor there. Panthers gonna panther in my personal view. But Derek Brown definitely is a great player to have on their team right now. B plus to A minus as far as my grade on him overall. And hopefully after the injury, he doesn't come back sluggish. He doesn't come back rough. Hopefully he comes back full force, ready to go.
Yep. Fingers crossed for him. So that
Right
takes us
on.
over to number 8, the Arizona Cardinals.
Isaiah Simmons.
Yep. So I want you to go first because I'm probably not gonna be super nice here.
I wasn't really nice on him either. I mean, Isaiah Simmons, with the amount of jumping around he's done to different teams thus far through his career, starting out with Arizona, going from Arizona in 2 years he spent in Arizona, left for the Giants for 2 more years, and then is now currently with the Packers. I mean, thus far he's not grading out great for me. I mean, 329 tackles, 8.5 sacks, 9 forced fumbles, 39 fumble recoveries, 21 pass deflections, 5 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. No Pro Bowls under his belt thus far. Did not play that great with Arizona. They had to go out and get another guy to make up for what he lacked. I mean, honestly, C minus to C minus to D plus at most for me.
Got it. So this was one of Steve Keim's last first round picks as GM of the Cardinals. Steve Keim, it was well known, really believed in best available. And one of the things that he loved more than anything is when a guy was just a freak. They had this idea that Isaiah Simmons was going to be able to be, for lack of a better way of putting it, slash, like linebacker slash edge rusher slash defensive back slash safety. Like they really thought that this guy was going to be someone that could just shut down players because of his freak athletic ability. He did not play terribly in terms of production when he was with Arizona. And here's the other thing: the guy has started everything but one game in his career, and so it's really hard to knock a guy who is a consistent or has played in every game, who is a consistent starter, consistent contributor. And when he was with Arizona, he did contribute. 2021, 2022, 105 tackles, 99 tackles. Put an interception up on the board in 21, 20, put 2 up in 22. But the Cardinals had decided after 2022 that they were not getting out of him what they really expected. And what they needed was a guy who could be the general in the center of that defense. And while he had the ability to run plays down, he didn't always find his way to the right place in terms of where he was supposed to be. this was a big gamble at the time, and I still remember to this day when Steve Keim made the announcement and made the pick, the number of people that went, "Are you nuts?" And the thing is, we all listen to the same Arizona sports radio out here in Arizona, and they leading up to the draft told us in no uncertain terms this was going to be the guy. There was no question mark. And the one thing everybody agreed was that instead of taking this guy, they should have traded down, gathered some more assets, and probably gotten the guy 4 picks later. So, it felt like a reach at the time of the pick. His production with New York completely fell off. It was not a good fit. Green Bay is one of those defenses where you can go and get healthy. We'll find out. For me right now, the grade is probably a C because he's exactly what everybody thought he was going to be. He's an athletic freak that in the right system can run and play a defense. He's not a general. He's never going to be. And he's not a guy you can trust to run your defense. So at this point, for me, it's a C.
That's one thing I forgot about the Cardinals. They kept bumping him around every different position. Went from middle linebacker to outside linebacker to defensive end to safety, both free and strong. Just
they played him everywhere.
Like it made no sense.
Yep.
Anyway, that'll bring us into pick number 9 with Jacksonville. C.J. Henderson. What a bust!
Yeah, there's not a whole lot else that you can say. He's out of the NFL already. And the totals for him in 2021, playing with 2 different teams, stuck around with Carolina for 2 more years, out of the NFL completely, like not at all what you expect out of a guy that was second or third on everybody's board in terms of at his position. He can't shut anything down. And sometimes you can blame the system, but sometimes you just got to look at the player and say he ain't got it. And at least for me, he just ain't got it. The real tell for me is the fact that nobody has signed him on. Nobody has taken a chance. Maybe he'll get lucky and get invited to a training camp or something like that because of injuries. But this guy at best is a bench production player. It might play some spot duty here or there. Couldn't agree more. Total F.
Honestly, the F that he deserves. I'm surprised I didn't. I would have given him an F minus, but of course, F is the only grade you can really give him at that point. Henderson. He didn't fit well in Jacksonville. And even then, anywhere else he went, he did not fit in. He was not a good enough player. Honestly, I'm surprised he went at number 9. I'm surprised the Jags reached at number 9 for him, but it's Jacksonville. It's not a huge surprise for them to reach for anything. Almost like the next team that picked right after then, picked number 10 with the Browns. Jedrick Wills.
Flunk, 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 flunk. Like, what else do you say? When you take the second offensive tackle off the board, you're expecting to get something in terms of, long-term production. You're definitely not expecting he's going to be out of the league completely. He's had lingering knee issues, and honestly, I don't think he's going to play again. You learn a lot about a guy when they do get injured. And you learn a lot about their mental makeup when they do get injured. And last year, he had the opportunity to come in and help his team out when they needed him most. But he, I think he's scared, for lack of a better way of putting it. I think he's scared to get hurt. And in the NFL, if you're scared to get hurt, you don't play. You don't survive the NFL. So.
Yeah, definitely. Jedrick Wills, being hurt and being scared to get hurt, that's almost like saying that what's the word I'm trying to look for? You're too chicken shit, too chicken shit to play in the league.
Chicken shit.
So definitely Jedrick Wills just I mean, unless he can, more than anything, what I think is hurting him the most is being in the Browns organization. If he decides to move elsewhere, play in another system other than in Cleveland, and go to a team that will make sure that to get him broken out of the whole worry about getting hurt. Because also you got to think about it too. You're in the NFL making millions of dollars. You're not out here, scraping and scrounging like most of us are, getting at most 50 grand a year. No, you're making close to 3 to 4 million a year at minimum, bare minimum. So for you to be
Yeah.
chicken shit not to get hurt, chicken shit to get hurt, like come on now.
Yeah. And again, one of those guys that all the talent was there, but maybe the heart's not. Got to make it an F.
Definitely. So that brings us into one of the teams out in New York with the Jets picking another offensive line right after him, Mekhi Becton.
So I'm one of the guys who thinks that Mekhi Becton is grossly underrated. Um, I think when the Jets took him, he became a pretty solid anchor on their line. Quarterback play doomed that team. Sam Darnold getting thrust in there when he wasn't ready doomed that team. Not having offensive players that you could count on doomed that team. Mekhi Becton was the one bright spot I thought for New York. That's just me. Um, I thought that the trade to the Eagles during the 2024 season was outstanding for him. I thought he was a big part of their Super Bowl run. I thought that it was everything he needed to reset the not the career, but to reset what people believed he was. That offensive line in Philly last year was scary. There is a reason that Saquon Barkley went for 2,000 yards. There is a reason that Jalen Hurts looked like an MVP. For me, Mekhi Becton is one of probably the top 10 offensive linemen in all of the NFL. And now he goes to the Chargers to fix a big hole that was exposed in that playoff game last year when Justin Herbert threw 4 interceptions. I love Mekhi Becton. I'm probably higher on him than most. I'll give this a B plus.
I definitely have to agree with you there. I mean, his time with the Jets definitely wasn't that great. You know, he was on probably one of the worst offense, probably more leaning towards definitely the worst offensive line in all of the NFL. Went in and played with Philly, played phenomenally with Philly, helped him get that Super Bowl win, helped it make sure to have people understand that Jalen Hurts likes to get touched in the butt a couple times. Um, but definitely made that offensive line scary. And now going out to L.A. definitely is going to be huge, not just for his career but for the career of Justin Herbert. Um, yeah, I mean honestly, grades out really high for me. I had B plus to A minus for him too. So that brings us into one of the weirdest
Ooh,
one of the
ooh,
weirdest
ooh. Let me,
regimes.
let me,
All
let me.
right, here we go.
With pick number 12 from Alabama, the Las Vegas Raiders select Henry Thugs the Third, Henry Leadfoot the Third, Henry I'm a Dumbass the Third.
What a fucking idiot, honestly. More than anything, I didn't even look at his stats. The only thing I thought about,
Yeah,
first and foremost, was how much of a fucking moron he was. I'm
yeah.
sorry, you get drunk with your girlfriend in the car, you decide to go as fast as you did down that street, and ultimately has to pay the ultimate price once his sentence is over. Honestly, just he's a fucking moron.
I would ask you how you really feel. So this is where the run on wide receivers began. And like hindsight is always 2020. People forget Henry Ruggs had a really solid first year with the Raiders. Uh, he looked like a guy that, being the first pick of that draft class, maybe wasn't completely stupid. You know, maybe it wasn't, but maybe it wasn't the best pick either, considering only 26 receptions, only the 2 touchdowns, but he also didn't play in every game. So I think we were all looking forward to what was going to be an improved second season. 7 games in, 36 receptions, matching the 2 touchdowns, surpassing his yards from the whole previous year. He was on track. And he did what every other kid does, which is heartbreaking. He made a mistake. Now, this is also why Las Vegas should not have a team. You cannot put young men with millions of dollars in a town that never sleeps and expect bad things not to happen. Like, they're going to happen. Um, Complete and total waste of a talent. In terms of grading the pick at the time, I would have given it an A. Like, there were 3 guys that I think really everyone talked about amongst who should go first. I would have given it an A. Had he gone to any other team, I don't think he makes the same mistakes.
Definitely.
Today, you have to look at this grade and you have to say F.
Definitely.
It's a shame.
You don't even have to think about it. It's an F, 100%.
Yep.
Henry Ruggs, and that's one thing I always talked about when talking about the 2020 NFL draft. That's the one story that really came out of it was you got to look at the Gruden Mayock era when it came to drafting players and realizing how much of a, like, just how much ultimately both of the men thought they knew about these players. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
like it just makes you sit back and wonder, okay, so what the it makes you sit back and say, okay, so these guys definitely don't know these guys know talent, sure, but they don't know about, you know, personal willpower and stuff like that. They don't know a whole bunch about
Yeah.
that, but is what is. He's not the only bad one they had in the first round, so that all.
No, he's not.
Yeah, so enough with beating up about Henry Ruggs. Stop thinking about him. Pick number 13 with the Bucks, Tristan Wirfs, one of the best offensive line that came out of that draft, 100%.
Yeah. Well, and anytime you're drafting an offensive lineman from Iowa, you're probably going to win. Tristan Wirfs, everybody knew exactly who he was. I thought he should have gone second in terms of offensive lineman. He was the third one picked. Goes to the Buccaneers. This guy is going to be. I think he's going to be a perennial All-Pro. I really do. He's starting off this season. He's going to miss the start of the season with a knee injury. He'll be back. Some guys just have that mental makeup. I think Tristan Wirfs is an absolute stud, and they were lucky to get him where they did. Uh, Straight A as far as I'm concerned.
I gave him A plus more than anything. I mean,
Yeah.
he started every game that he's played in. He's a Super Bowl champion. Blocked for one of the best quarterbacks for 2 years with Tom Brady. You know, 2 first team All Pros, 1 second team All Pro, 4 Pro Bowls under his belt. I mean, honestly, I gave him A plus.
All right. Well, take us into number 14,
So that'd be
San Francisco,
Good
Javon
old
Kinlaw.
good old Javon Kinlaw. So for Kinlaw, I mean, I really didn't have a lot that I was super huge on him for. I mean, so far 110 tackles through his career, 10.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles with only the 1 fumble recovery, 7 pass deflections, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown off of the interception. Um, I don't know. I was rough with my grading on it, so I'll let you kind of take over and talk your piece on Javon.
So Javon Kinlaw, I think, I think he was the beneficiary when he was healthy in 2023 of getting to play in a system that allowed him to feature what his skill was, which is stopping the run. And he is a good run stopper. He played with the Jets back in 2024 when San Fran didn't pick up his fifth year option, and mainly because of the injuries that he suffered. Um, he goes to Washington this year. And I like again, when you get to this point in the first round, it's seldom you're going to find a guy that is an absolute stud. Um, you're usually picking the third or fourth best at almost any position, or at least any position that is going to get drafted in the first round or early in the first round. So for me, when they made the pick, like it made sense. I really think what he did as a run stopper is exactly what you expected him to do as a run stopper, and I think he fits the mold of a situational player. Um, I'd give it a B or a B minus. I wouldn't be much rougher than that because you got exactly what I think you were expecting out of him.
Yeah, definitely for me. It was looking more like B minus to C plus at very best for him. Again, with the inconsistent play and with injuries to be considered with Javon. I mean, him going into Washington, this next year. I mean, it's gonna hopefully turn his career around and make him a even better player to get a better to be an even better player by the end of his career. But yeah,
Yep.
I mean, honestly, that's why I wasn't really high on him very all that much, especially with the injuries considered taking him out of the game for that long.
Right.
So that'll
All
bring
right.
us into 15 with the
Yeah.
Denver Donkeys, Jerry Judy.
So I still remember sitting on the couch that day with Mike and talking about who I wanted the pick to be. I wanted CeeDee Lamb. Um, and when they said Jerry Judy, I wasn't heartbroken. But when I look at Jerry Judy, what I saw was a guy who was going to be more of a slot receiver, not a second receiver, which is what I believed at the time the Broncos really needed. We had Cortland Sutton, who was coming off a very good year. I like Cortland Sutton. I still do. I don't think he's a stud by any means, but I think he's a good complementary number two, and yet he's stuck trying to play number one. Um, it's really easy now to look back and go, man, what a miss. But sometimes it's a product of the system. And I think Jerry Judy is probably one of the best examples of that. He never fit right in Denver. He did have a problem with drops early in his career. 9 drops his rookie season, and everybody was aware of that. Um, in a sense, it felt like the Broncos quit on him as much as he quit on the Broncos. And looking at last season when he went over to Cleveland, 90 receptions, 1,229 yards. Like, you put the guy in the right system and you get the most out of him that you're going to get. Um, I'm going to make this grade an incomplete. I want to give the Broncos an F for not finding the right way to use him, or an F for choosing a guy that didn't fit their system at the time. But the reality is, Drew Lock was his quarterback as a rookie. We're all very well aware of what the Broncos had at quarterback for the past for 4 years before last year. I would have loved to have seen what Jerry Judy could have done with Bo Nix, but Jerry Judy had worn out his welcome with Sean Payton. So kudos to Jerry Judy. If I'm grading just the player, I'm marking it incomplete. I want to see success off of last season as well.
So that's kind of where I kind of got stuck at too. I mean, with Jerry Judy, he had a great year with Cleveland, but you want to see that replication happen. You want to see him be as successful, if not more successful. I of course feel terrible for him playing for Cleveland, knowing their concerns when it comes to their quarterback situation. You got 4 choices. You got you got the head case Shigdor Sanders. You got old man Joe Flacco. You got their first quarterback taken this year as well, or you got Mr. Cosby in the locker room too. So Jerry Jeudy, it's a lose-lose situation in the quarterback situation in Cleveland this year, but I do believe Jerry Jeudy definitely fitting into that number one position in Cleveland. So as far as player himself, I gave him a C minus to D plus thus far. Denver definitely gave him an F for choosing Jerry Jeudy when they did. But yeah, I mean, not fully heartbroken with Jerry going at 15. He got paid for his time in Denver and got paid even more in Cleveland. So hopefully this year will be his year to break out. So that'll bring us into Atlanta at number 16 with A.J. Terrell.
So Terrell is a very good corner. He's I think he's one of those guys that quarterbacks would prefer not to throw at. I think they'd prefer to throw around him. Give me one quick second, okay?
Okay. So while he's stepping away briefly here, I definitely have to agree to him thus far with what he was talking about with A.J. Terrell. Definitely a guy that quarterbacks don't want to throw to, want to avoid his side of the ball. I mean, so far throughout his career, he's gotten his extra contract out with Atlanta, 313 tackles, 1 sack thus far as a corner too, 4 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 49 passes defended against, 6 interceptions, 1 second team All Pro. Yeah, I mean with his new contract out in Atlanta, I mean the sky's the limit for him. I gave him at most a B to B minus as far as him as a player overall. So while we're waiting on
I'm sorry, I'm still here. I'm good with that grade right now. He is going to be one of the big question marks whether or not they're going to turn it around this year. If he can play exceptionally well, I think there is the potential for the Falcons to be a playoff contender and potentially win that division. It just really comes down to what they get in terms of production out of a few guys. So.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and take a brief intermission while you're stepping away to take care of what you do. While he's stepping away, of course, I want to talk a little bit here about something that I found at the store the other day. Something that I used to be a somewhat big fan of when I was growing up. Something that baseball players, if they didn't want to find themselves chewing tobacco, they found this little product right here, this Big League Chew. Used to love chewing on this stuff when I was a kid. Found it at my local CVS last I went in, and this stuff, after 5 minutes of chewing it, was absolutely awful.
I remember Big League Chew. I used to chew on that when I was a kid. And you're right, about 4.5 minutes, I think, was the longest it ever lasted. But yeah, pretty disgusting.
Grape flavor ain't too terrible in this. So I'll bring us into pick 17 with the Dallas Cowboys. The guy you wish that Denver drafted, CeeDee Lamb.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, what do you really need to say here? There's not a lot to talk about. This guy is probably one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL, 100 plus receptions the last 3 years, and that's even considering, Dak Prescott's injuries. This guy produces. CeeDee Lamb was the guy that I felt like could have been a number 1 in Denver, if not a number 2. I thought that the pairing of him and Courtland Sutton on both sides of the field, like, what a nightmare for defenses to figure out which one to shut down. He's also turned into one of the best route runners that I've seen in a very, very long time. And I still remember in that draft, Mike, who is a Cow Puke fan, basically saying that like he loved the pick, even though they had Michael Gallup, they had Amari Cooper at the time. Like he said, imagine having a number three like CeeDee Lamb, who then of course developed into into what he is today. This guy's an absolute stud. And Dallas, this is one of the ones where they absolutely hit on the pick. They did exactly what they needed to do, got exactly out of it what they needed. They look like geniuses. This is an A plus if ever there was an A plus, with one more yet to come.
Definitely. Yeah, that's my third A plus I'm giving out so far throughout the video, the video and the live here. Dallas definitely hit, hit for the swung for the fences, and got themselves a little bit of a home run here. 496 receptions thus far throughout his career, 6,339 yards, 38 touchdowns, one first team All Pro, 2-time second team All Pro, 4 Pro Bowls under his belt. Of course, the only thing that he is missing as well is a run towards the Super Bowl himself at this point. I mean, honestly, that's what I feel, and I feel terrible for him because I don't think that Dak Prescott's going to be the answer to get them to that Super Bowl. So, given the information, kind of what I'm seeing here, they may look into quarterback here fairly soon in future drafts. Archer Manning definitely is looking very nice out there. Or Archie Manning, sorry, but yeah, CeeDee Lamb A plus without a doubt.
Yeah, it cracks me up. You brought it up, so I'll touch on this, and we can maybe do our next show ahead of the start of the college season. The hype around Arch Manning is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, and nothing against him. Like it's fun to predict who the next big talent's going to be. Guys, let's be realistic here. Pedigree is not everything. That name does not throw the football for him. Um, I I don't think there's anything that Arch Manning can do to live up to the hype. Anything he does is going to be under a microscope, and any mistake he makes, look for him to not be a bust, but to have his stock drop immensely this year and potentially suffer Quinn Ewers' fate. There you go. I said it. Woo! Moving on.
All right, so moving on here, we're going to go ahead and go into number 18 here. The Miami Dolphins, with their second pick that draft, go after another offensive lineman in Austin Jackson.
Austin Jackson to me was the perfect pick at this point. You just spent your number 5 overall pick, your first round draft on a quarterback of the future. Why not give him some protection? I think one of the biggest mistakes we see people make is go out and try to find weapons before they have an offensive line for him. It was the right pick at the time. Now, we had already seen some offensive linemen come off the board. Jackson, I think, was the top guard taken, and I think was a very reasonable pick. He went on injured reserve, so we don't know how much he will play this coming season, but he did get an extension. I think he's performed well. I don't know how many Pro Bowls the guy has got, but we will find out. We will find out if he is everything we hope he can be. Being an Arizona kid, we're always rooting for the Arizona boys. I think it was the right pick, and I think they've gotten a decent amount out of him. I'd probably give this a B.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely get a decent amount out of Austin Jackson. The injuries thus far, I mean, they haven't helped him. They haven't helped his stock whatsoever. His grade, I should say. Honestly, with Austin Jackson, I had it at most as a B minus to a C plus at best. If he can get his injury, issues under control, definitely can see his grade upgrading, but definitely until he can get those injuries under control, I don't see it grading out any higher.
Gotcha.
So that'll bring us into that next pick that from the the Gruden Mayock era.
Damon A.K. Arnett. Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about him.
All right, so Damon Arnett, pick number 19 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Like I mentioned prior, that is one thing that I will scream to the heavens about, that they need to review what was talked about in the what was talked about ultimately in those discussions of who Gruden and Mayock had as far as their picks.
1 second. Give me one quick moment.
Okay. While he stepped away, I'll at least go ahead and kind of run through the information, even though it's brief information. Arnett, I mean, everybody knows what happened. He got 29 tackles through his career, 3 pass deflections. And then he decided it was a good idea to go on live, like we are now, flash the gun, and essentially told them, hey, pull up. What a freaking moron.
Hey, real quick, I do apologize. I do have to drop off the stream here. Just real quick, the last couple things that I'll say here, and I'll let you finish it out. What stood out to me was the incredible amount of wide receiver talent. We're about to talk about Jalen Reagor. Whoops, wrong guy. We're about to talk about the greatest receiver in the NFL as of today, Justin Jefferson. I don't know how anyone argues against that. Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, I know you're going to talk about him. Michael Pittman. Yep. Van Jefferson, Gabe Davis, Juwan Jennings. The wide receiver talent that came out of this draft is insane. Let's not forget, we've got one of the best quarterbacks to come out of this draft in about 5 picks, Jordan Love. And your Super Bowl MVP coming out of round 2, Jalen Hurts. Those are the things that stood out for me. I wish I could stay and talk longer, but I've got a lovely wife who needs my attention. So, without further ado, I'll hand it off to Raven. Raven, take him home.
Have fun. All right. So going on with the Raiders. Actually, you know what? Let's be smart about this. Let me switch over here so you guys can see my wonderful, beautiful face. I will get myself out of Discord, close that. All right, cool. Here we are. We're back. So that brings us into the Raiders. I mean, you've heard it. He's an F. What a freaking moron. Just someone makes you upset, you don't go out and flash a weapon on live. Just there's so many things that you have to do to keep yourself composed, especially when you're making millions of dollars. He's just one of those guys that didn't really have the brain, the smarts to, not do what he did. But, it is what it is. He's an F in my book. I'm almost certain that he's an F in everyone's book. But, yeah, he didn't do great. So it brings us into Jacksonville at number 20, getting a Clavon Chaisson. This dude was one of the biggest busts that actually came out of this draft as well. 105 tackles thus far through his career, 10 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 4 pass deflections, 1 interception. Him in as a defensive end. I mean, only having 10 sacks thus far through his 5 years of his career. Honestly, defensive ends, at least to their first 5 years, you want to see him in the 20s, 25s, but Chaisson, I mean, he really didn't live up to the hype, especially out in Jacksonville. So he graded really low for me, at most a D minus, D to D minus at best for him. But hopefully, he'll be able to turn his career around with Jacksonville. But who knows? So as of course he was joking about, number 21 went to Philly with Jalen Reagor. Jalen Reagor was one of the more hyped wide receivers coming out of college than any other receiver. Jalen Rager did not live up to that hype out there for Philly. Um, I mean, 86 receptions for only 1,037 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's definitely more of a um, definitely more of a return man more than anything. Um, he had 986 return yards, 2 return touchdowns. Um, Now with LA, I mean, he's bumped around to 4 different teams throughout his career. Started with Philly for 2 years. Following year went to Minnesota in 2020. Bumped over to New England in 23 to 24. Did not play that great with the Patriots, so he got traded to the Chargers, and has been with the Chargers ever since. Yeah, one thing with him, I mean, thus far throughout his professional career, just again, I mean, more than anything, it's just him not being successful is one thing. I mean, him not molding into the number one with Philly. I mean, him not really molding very well with Minnesota. Only spending a little bit of time out with Minnesota. Getting signed on to the Patriots practice squad, and staying off of their starting roster until week 17, and then of course re-signing with the Patriots, for a little bit in 24, and then going to the practice squad to eventually get released, a couple of months later. And then, of course, getting picked up by the Chargers. So, my correction, he was picked up by the Chargers after he got waived by the Patriots. Coming back on the 1-year contract out with the Chargers. I mean, hopefully, with him being out there with Harbaugh, he'll be able to turn around his career. But honestly, he grades out as an F for me. He really has not lived up to the hype from when he came out of college. So that brings us into pick number 22 with the Vikings, as my dad, before he jumped out, said. Jay Jettas, as everybody calls him, Mr. Justin Jefferson, teammate of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Justin Jefferson, without a doubt in my mind, him coming out of college, he was the best player, best receiver out of that entire draft. With him falling all the way down to 22, it was just shocking to me. He should have gone higher. I mean, thus far throughout his career, having the 495 reception yards, 7,432 receiving yards, 40 touchdowns. He was your 22 Offensive Player of the Year, 2-time First Team All-Pro, 2-time Second Team All-Pro, 4 Pro Bowls under his belt. He graded out to an A+ for me as well. So that's thus far 4 that I've given the A+ grade to. So that brings us into the Chargers with Kenneth Murray. I mean, 416 tackles, 8.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 12 pass deflections, 3 interceptions thus far through his career as well. Give me a brief moment. So, I mean, with his time with the Chargers, spent 3 years with LA before getting, before walking to Tennessee in 24, and then, of course, now spending time with Dallas in 25. I mean, there was a lot of hype with him too coming out of college. To be that, that new face of the LA Chargers defense as well. Yeah, I mean, he did not live up to the hype. I mean, multiple injuries that really hurt him. He's had far too many injuries. Hopefully him getting traded to Dallas will be a huge turnaround for his personal career as well. But honestly, Hopefully he'll be better this next year with Dallas and that better system. But I see at very most a B minus to C plus for Kenneth Murray at very best. So that'll bring us into the Saints with Cesar Ruiz. First center taken off of the board that year. Cesar Ruiz, he's played pretty much every game throughout his career thus far. Started 69 of those games. Nice. He's definitely lived up to the hype. Out there in New Orleans. Hopefully he'll be able to get back into the regular starting. Sorry, that was going to bother me if I didn't pick up that card. Hopefully he'll be able to turn around his play to be able to get back into the regular starting position for the Saints, but I gave him at very best a B plus to B minus grade. Honestly, hopefully they'll be able to as well plug him into the best position. He played a couple of snaps at right guard. They keep moving him around to different positions on the line. And hopefully Cesar Ruiz, they finally put him back at center to be able to finally turn around his career overall. So B minus to B to B minus at best for him. So that's kind of where I have him at right now. So that brings us into San Francisco, where we saw a star from ASU, big ol' Brandon Ayuk. I was hyped when Ayuk got drafted at number 25. I'm a big ASU fan. If you can't tell back here, I got the little ASU pendant and the little ASU placard right there. And of course, it doesn't help. It helps that, of course, I'm a huge fan of the ASU because stadium's right over there, a couple miles away from my house. Ayuk, he was such a great talent coming in. I had him down as like the third or fourth receiver that would have came off the board. Him falling to 25 with the Niners has been huge for them and huge for his career. With him having one of the best Mr. Irrelevance throw him the football. And now with him coming in, being the number one guy after his injury, Ayuk, the sky's the limit for Ayuk. I gave him a B to B plus as far as his grade. Thus far through his career, 294 receptions, 4,305 yards, 27 touchdowns, 1 second team All-Pro. Definitely had him down as one of the more successful wide receivers in that draft. So that brings us into Green Bay, where they gave everybody a shock. Not just the fans, not just the fellow players on his team, but more specifically with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, as soon as he told the team he wanted receiver help, he wanted weapons to be able to win games and be able to get to the Super Bowl. And the Packers decided to do the one thing that the Packers always do. Whenever their quarterback is going to have a very successful season, they go and draft his replacement. And this is what Jordan Love was for Aaron Rodgers. Now, of course, for people who remember, Brett Favre, he came off, he's getting older, so they decided to go ahead and draft his replacement. And as Aaron Rodgers did, Brett Favre did the same thing that Aaron Rodgers did to Jordan Love. Essentially told the team that he's not there to help develop the kid. He's there for his own success, only there for his own success, and he's not going to help try and develop his game. So Jordan Love, he's a very successful player thus far for Green Bay. 63.5 completion percentage thus far through his career. 60 touchdowns, 25 interceptions. Sorry, what was that? Yeah, 60 touchdowns, 25 interceptions, 8,154 yards, 95.1 QBR. Definitely a successful pick. I gave him a B plus to A minus. The one huge knock I have on Jordan Love is his touchdowns to interception ratio. He hasn't thrown as many touchdowns as the other prior guys. Heck, even Tua Tagovailoa has more touchdowns than him. So Jordan Love, I mean, he needs the weaponry just like Aaron Rodgers needed the weapons. So, yeah, I mean, Jordan Love needs weapons, guys. For him to turn around, for him to be able to turn around his career to be more of a minus to A plus type of player, they need to get him some weapons. That's no doubt in my mind. So that brings us into Seattle with Jordan Brooks at number 27. Seattle, I mean, Jordan Brooks was a great pick at that time when they drafted him. I mean, 656 tackles, 9.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, 22 pass deflections, 1 interception with that interception going for a score. Give me one moment here. So, one thing, of course, that was concerning about one thing thus far that has been concerning about him, especially throughout his career. Let's see here. Yeah, and one thing that's super concerning about him was his injuries. He tore his ACL, placed on IR in the 22 season. Really hasn't come back to his peak form. So, yeah, I mean, he's recently switched to Miami. Hopefully, with him moving regimes and playing out with Miami, his career will turn around a lot better. I gave him at most a B minus B to B minus, because when he's healthy, he plays great. I'll give him that. So that brings us to pick number 28 with the Baltimore Ravens with Patrick Queen. This was a great pick for Baltimore at the time. Of course, after his time with Baltimore, he is now with the Steelers. And for Patrick Queen, going to the Steelers, leaving the Ravens has been insanely great for his career. Patrick Queen thus far, 583 tackles, 14.5 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, with all those fumbles being recovered, 22 pass deflections, 4 interceptions, 1 touchdown, 1 second-team All-Pro, 2 Pro Bowls under his belt. I put down Patrick Queen as a to A plus player. He's a great player. Hopefully, with the Steelers now having a certain player that played with Green Bay, hopefully he'll be able to be able to help the Steelers get to the Super Bowl this year. But as usual, people already know one thing and one thing for certain: Steelers are going 9-8, 9-8 at most. Like, there's still no doubt in my mind that the Steelers are only going to go 9-8. That'll bring us to a fun pick number 29 with the Titans. What fucking morons the Titans were. Isaiah Wilson. I don't even have to talk about him all that much. Everybody knows about Isaiah Wilson. Head case. Almost as bad as Henry Ruggs. Guy, of course, with COVID restrictions and everything, Isaiah Wilson, after he got drafted, thought it would be a smart idea to go out and party, party with the college kids. Soon as the cops showed up, he tried to run away and got hurt running from the cops. Played 1 game throughout his career and is already out of the NFL. Isaiah Wilson is a freaking bust. Terrible player. And it goes without saying, I gave him an F. Brings us to the last three picks of the draft of the first round. Miami with Noah Igbenogany. I don't know how to pronounce it. Nobody knows. Not a great player. Not for the Dolphins. Hopefully, he turns things around with his career. But thus far, 84 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 12 pass deflections, 1 interception with 1 touchdown. He's not great. He's horrible. Honestly, I gave him D- to F. He's just not really redeemable. Brings us into another bust right at, well, that's the thing. The last 3 picks of the first round were complete and utter busts. 31 with the Vikings with Jeff Gladney, 81 tackles for 1 forced fumble, 3 pass deflections as a corner. No interceptions thus far through his career, which is insane to even think about when you're talking about a corner. So, Gladney, without a doubt in my mind, was a bust. I gave him an F. And that'll bring us into the pick number 32, with pick number 32 with the Chiefs. Super Bowl winning Chiefs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Again, have him down as a bust. Thus far, 1,891 yards, 12 touchdowns, 92 receptions, 782 yards, 7 touchdowns. He has 2 Super Bowl rings, so I'll give him that. But he has those 2 rings in spite of himself. Helaire just did not live up to the hype. He did not. I gave him a D- to an F. There's a lot of things that you wish he would be, a lot of things that you wish you would see from him, but I don't think he's going to kind of turn things around at all. So that brings us to the end of the first round. That brings us into the second round, brings us into the more notable, day 2 and day 3 picks. There are a few that there's a few that I wound up highlighting here. DeAndre Swift, he's had a great career thus far, especially with Detroit. Xavier McKinney, Robert Hunt, Jonathan Taylor, great running back, by the way. Antoine Winfield Jr., great player for the Buccaneers. Trayvon Diggs, Jalen Hurts, as my dad brought up, Super Bowl winning quarterback there. Jonah Jackson. This guy right here, T. Higgins, and Logan Wilson. T. Higgins, he came in to be that target for Joe before Jamar came into the NFL. Logan Wilson, cornerstone on the Bengals defense, the cornerstone on their defense, came in at the same time as Burrow. Great player overall. And the final thing we wanted to talk about, of course, were the notable undrafted. So, of course, of the undrafted free agents, not a lot of them really, not a lot of them go on to have great careers. They're just more there for practice squad guys, see if they develop whole 9 yards. But in this draft, 4 of them came out as very notable undrafted free agents. Tyler Huntley went to Baltimore. People remember with Huntley, he came in when Lamar Jackson went down, played serviceably, and of course got the nod to go and play against the Bengals in that playoff game, and helped create the Sam Hubbard return touchdown. I remember it. Bengal fans remember it. You remember. I remember. Tommy Townsend, great punter for the Chiefs. At least he's not their kicker. Rodrigo Blankenship, people remember him. Came into the Colts, the goofy kid that wore glasses and kicked field goals and collected Legos. And then, of course, Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle, great player, great running back for the Cowboys. Things will turn around for him, and hopefully we'll talk about him more throughout this upcoming season. So that brings us to the end here. I appreciate everybody who came out and watched here on the live, and I appreciate anybody here, anybody over on YouTube who are currently watching this and watching this till the end. For those of you on YouTube who are watching the recap of this, if there are any topics you want us to go over, any from any football topics, any baseball topics, any basketball topics, feel free to leave them in the comments. We'll talk about it and see if we can come up with ideas from from the suggestions you guys have. But appreciate everybody for coming out and watching, dude.